Okay, our next interview is with Barbara Rootenberg of the LA area. She is a bookseller who has specialized in science and medicine for a number of years. And I'm going to ask you the same question I start everybody off with, Barbara.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about your background, family, schools, where you grew up, a little bit of background like that.
My family came to Los Angeles in 1879.
Wow.
I mean, people want to know where the rings in my nose are or something. My father came, his family came from Sweden. My mother's family came from France. And they settled, the family. I went to school, all through school here, UCLA, which is my love. Mm-hmm. And my background during college, I decided I loved writing and reading. I was always a reader. And I decided to make a little money by doing research for writers. And I started, the first one I did was Tarzan. Who wrote Tarzan?
Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Yes, the family. And then the other family in Tarzana, they came to me, and I started doing research, getting into library, looking for books, and I loved it. I just loved it. And that was through school. Then, Leon and I have been married 56 years.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. And I started to think about doing other things. After college, after marriage, after having a couple of children, I first started into politics. Oh. I was very active into Democratic politics, really active. I worked for Kennedy. I was on the floor, one of the Kennedy girls on the floor. And it was exciting, but not really what I wanted to do. So what I did was go to meet some of the book dealers. And I did. I met Jake Zeitlin, who became my mentor. And I never worked, a lot of people thought I worked for Jake.
You never did?
Never did. A lot of people thought I worked for Harry Levinson. Never did.
I know you didn't work for Harry.
But you know that there was an auction gallery here. I don't know if you knew about it. The man's name was Stafford. And I happened to walk in to look at what was going on at an auction. And he hired me. And
just like that?
Just like that. We talked, and he hired me to do some cataloging. Well, it ended up I didn't realize that he was a thief.
Huh.
He was a thief. He had a big Americana collection that he was going to auction, and then he auctioned Harry Levinson's, a lot of his books. But we didn't know that he ran off after the auction with all the money.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And you worked for him.
And we worked for, well, we ended up paying for all of these people. I mean, it was a horrible thing that happened. Yeah. We cleaned up, we got books back to people, and it just was an experience that if it had been anybody else, I probably would not have gone more into the business. In fact, what was interesting, the first time I went into a bookstore, and I started to take a book out of a shelf, and somebody said, "Oh, don't touch, be careful, blah, blah, blah." And, if I wasn't determined, I would not have done it either. I don't think that at the time there were many women in the business.
Well, there were a few. Do you remember Peggy Christian?
Peggy Christian was the one person I went to. I said, "Peggy, I love this business. Can I clean out your shelves for you? Forget the money, anything. I just want to wash the floors and clean the shelves and stock things." And she said, "Barbara, I'm happy to help you in any way you want, but I can't have anybody working for me. I'm not that kind of a person." Yeah. So it was okay. I didn't mind. And to make a long story short, Jake was very nice to me. He introduced me to people, and I started buying books here and there. I did a couple of private libraries. I bought a couple of very small detective fiction libraries.
What is the time period that we're talking about?
70, a little before 70 and 70.
Okay.
And I bought a couple of libraries, and I sold them right away. As I say, either Western, detective fiction, things that I didn't care what it was.
Yeah.
And then I really was interested because when I went to school, I was an English and literature major, and I loved American and English literature, avant-garde, modern.
I like that too.
So I read a lot, and where I could buy, I bought, and here and there I sold things, not very much because I didn't know anybody. I didn't belong to anything. And then little by little, I started meeting people and buying a bigger library, selling it, using the money to buy another library. And there was no woman. After I started doing the sciences, there was not a woman in the sciences.
No.
I had a huge amount of problems, unbelievable, especially foreign dealers.
Yeah.
They would say to me, women, they cookbooks and children's books, cookery and children's books.
Traditional stuff.
They don't buy, how do you know about medicine and science? Little by little, I worked. And then I became active, and I became a member of the ABAA. I think it was, I've been a member almost 40 years.
Probably more like 30 years.
No, I was much earlier than that.
In the 70s, you said.
Yeah, in the 70s, 89. Well, okay. But whatever. And we decided, then they asked me to run the book fairs. I was on the book fair.
That's right, I remember that.
So I had a friend helping me. Do you remember Molly? My good friend Molly?
Yeah.
Molly and I would sit down and say, how can we do something? What can we do to make these book fairs more interesting? So what we did, we decided on this Discovery Day. We were the first to do the Discovery Day.
Right.
We were the first to do a day for the, set aside a beautiful room with wine and cheese and everything for the librarians. And it just, that's brings us up as days go on. Oh yes, I know what I did. I did this, then we did, I did the ambassador. Remember,
Absolutely.
I did the ambassador. I'm not sure if we had a fair manager. I don't think so. I think it was Molly and I that were the managers, and we really worked out. Everyone that came, especially from Europe and Japan and people like that, we had bottles of wine and cheese in their room. I mean, we really did it up. I even went to Europe once and invited the largest group of European people to the book fair. And from there on, then, what did I do? Oh, yes, then I think you were president at the time.
1988 to 1990. That's me.
Maybe were you on the board before that?
I was on the board, yeah.
Okay, because we were on the board. And then Anne-Marie Wall and I started the newspaper.
The ABAA newsletter.
That was our thing. We got together, the two of us. It was more there was a lot of theft.
Yeah, I remember that era.
I became security chairman and book fair chairman. And so we worked on the newsletter. I was really gung-ho for anything I could do for this association. I love the association. I always have. Yeah. And I think it's done just a world of good. It's been marvelous. I think the people are honorable, ethical, kind, and they have something in mind that they care about other people. They want other people to learn the trade and what we do and how we do it. And I've been very, happy. I've been president of our chapter I was 4 years. And I can't remember, and I've been around. We do now. Howard has taken over.
Your son.
Yeah. Which was, as I started to say, serendipitous. I mean, he was there. He was a lawyer. He was an entertainment lawyer for many years. And I don't know what happened, but he was there. And he's wonderful. It was funny because there are not a lot of males that go with their mother. It's not that kind of thing. If you go to Europe, it's the grandfather, the father, the son, and you don't find the mother and the son like that. And but I've been very lucky. He's done a really good job. I trust him well. Hey, pardon? Okay. Oh, okay.
Leave your scarf on, but don't cloud your mic.
Okay.
Let us know when we can start again.
Okay.
Hold on, Barbara. Okay.
Okay. Well, again, and this is where we are. I still do a lot of work. I still buy and sell. I'm in the office all day long. My love is really research. From the beginning to now, still, I love to do the research.
Well, talk a little bit about some of the booksellers that were sort of mentors or who helped you when you started in the trade. You mentioned Jake Zeitlin, you mentioned Harry Levinson. Was there anybody else who you felt was an influence, a positive influence on you?
Yeah, one person in the book trade. My first book fair that I did, I think, in New York, I put a list out, and I made a horrible mistake on that list. The price was, I accidentally put another two in front of what was not supposed to be, and made it 10 times more than it was supposed to be, and I was hysterical. And it happened that Ed Glazer was next to me, and he made me feel so good, made me laugh and say, it was no big deal, not to worry. And he was great.
And he still is.
He still is. He's wonderful.
He's an icon in my mind.
And and I remember that well. I would have flipped out, I think, handing it out with errors all over it. Because I know you're very meticulous. Yeah, and boy, if it takes me 10 days to do one book, I can afford to take the 10 days because other people are working. Yeah. But I'm very particular. You know that I went to library school. Yeah. I went back to school. I was in a terrible accident.
Yes, I remember you discussed that with me on more than one occasion.
Well, I was in a car with Levinson's wife, and I didn't know she had epilepsy, and her foot got caught on the gas pedal, and we went into lampposts and a house and trees, and she was killed immediately, and I was thrown out of the car. So it took me a number of years and 20 surgeries, which gave me a lot of time to do a lot of reading about books. So let me tell you, I spent a lot of time.
Yeah, you probably had a lot of time to do those things.
But I learned another thing when I did that.
Yeah.
And I think I would love to see other people doing it. I went back to school to get my master's in library science, not to be a librarian, just to get the really tools of our trade. Mm-hmm. I learned to make paper, set my own type. I learned every facet of a book, from illustrations, binding. There's not a facet of a book that I don't know.
And you did this while you were recuperating?
I was recuperating, the years I was recuperating.
Years? Was it that long, Barbara?
Yeah. Wow. Oh, I'm still doing it. I still have surgeries from there.
Oh, my God.
Well, I'm here.
No, that's the important thing.
I'm lucky.
I know, it's awful. Let's talk a little bit about the Internet, Barbara.
Okay.
Was it an easy transition for you, computers and the Internet? How did it work for you?
I caught on immediately. Yeah. I don't know why. They all laughed at me. Leon doesn't even do the Internet. But for some reason, I managed. And in fact, I've got carpal tunnel. I'm constantly at the Internet. I'm constantly, but I don't only use it as a tool. And that's a problem that a lot of young people are doing. They don't have any idea about research.
Right, they copy.
They copy everything, and it's really sad. Because a lot of things, you may think everything's on the Internet. Well, that's not so.
True.
And I believe in using your research materials, and not only just one, because research materials make errors too.
That's true.
I insist that we do 2-3 different areas to find out about what's the right thing, and then make a decision.
Well, how do you find do you think that the internet has been better for you sales-wise, or better for you customer-wise, or about the same? We've had varying responses to that question.
Really? No, I think the internet has done us well. I mean, we do have high-type books. You know, we're at the higher end.
Right.
It's not like we have $50 or $60 books that we can sell, though we do sell some of those too.
Yeah.
But basically, we've had, you know, high-priced books. We've had good customers, new customers. Or most of ours, again, we do a lot of museum and university institutional business.
Do you find the customers that you've picked up on the internet, are they one-shot deals, or for the most part one-shot deals and occasionally a repeater?
Yeah.
It's pretty much like that, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've not had any problems with anybody. We're very fortunate.
Yeah, you know, I've asked that of many dealers, and I haven't heard anybody who said, "Oh, I had this terrible problem with so-and-so." It seems to have been worked out.
It's working, yeah. I mean, that's the way of the world. It's going to be the way, and it's going to be more and more.
Do you buy much on the internet?
I never.
You don't buy at all?
Howard may buy here and there. I'm sure he does.
But you use the internet as in a different way.
As a tool,
yeah.
And I like to listen, you know, read the chat. I really don't.
You don't participate.
No, I don't participate. But
you're a voyeur.
I am a voyeur. I like to read about it, and I have time. I can manage, and I enjoy it. And there are things. Maybe I'll become a chat person too. But
who knows?
I don't know.
Barbara, if you were entering the book trade today, how would you go about doing it? Or would you do it at all?
Oh, yes.
It's like in your bloodstream,
I loved books as a kid. My children grew up completely surrounded by books. My life is a book. I mean, it is. If you came to our place, you'd see we have a very large place. And there's
I've been
one,
to your house.
Huh? Yeah, there's very, very little room that's all filled. And then we have warehouse. There's nothing, life would be horrible without a book and books around.
What do you think about all this digitizing that's going on, where millions of books are being digitized, and it seems like a horrible thing to me.
Well, yes, it seems to me too. A lot of people, I've heard conversations, feel that it could be, that the people that would buy the book want the book.
Yeah.
I know I would feel that way. I couldn't read a book online.
I
mean, I want to feel that the paper. A book is more than information between two boards.
Right.
It's got to be a thing. It can be a thing of beauty too.
And the illustrations and plates in some
everything.
of these books it's just absolutely breathtaking sometimes.
So to have to go around feeling that you've got information just sticking there like that,
What do you perceive as the big challenges facing the antiquarian book trade as we go into the future?
Lack of enthusiasm.
Among dealers?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Elaborate a little on that.
I think I've talked to so many dealers, and they seem so depressed about things. They don't have any really enthusiasm. And if you don't have enthusiasm, your customers aren't going to have enthusiasm. Mm-hmm. I mean, it spreads. It's catching. Yeah. And, I learned from Jake. Jake was wonderful that way.
He's a very garrulous raconteur.
And you know what? It's true, though. If you're going to go around saying things are horrible, they're not good, I mean, you know what? It's not going to be good, and it is going to be bad for them.
Yeah, I've always viewed this business as being labor-intensive and enthusiasm-intensive.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't have those, if you're not willing to do that, you're just not going to make it.
That's why I said enthusiasm, to me, is the most important thing that a book dealer should have. Right.
Now, as we go into the future, Barbara, we're looking at a generation of booksellers who are all over 55 and a generation of booksellers that are under 40. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me that there are very few under 40 and a lot of us over 55. Where are we heading as an association? Where are we heading as a business?
I'm going to be 80, and let me tell you, I still am raring to go.
Well, I know you are. But
I think that I'll tell you something about younger people. Again, it goes back to the same enthusiastic thing. You got to have more for them than just leaving them alone. I think as a association, we got to do something more. We got to appeal to them in a different way.
do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, I think that we should get together. We used to have parties. Every book fair, we always had a great party. Not outside like this. I mean, but a party that everybody could be together.
Yeah.
I don't know. We had auctions. Remember, we had auctions, and we gave whatever it was, but not online.
Yeah.
You got to be together. You got to have people.
Yeah. I remember the first time I came to San Francisco, and David McGee had all of the non-California dealers come out for a party at his house. It was wonderful.
You know, that's the big problem. Nobody, everybody sticks by themselves.
Yeah.
Everybody's worried about making a living these days. I mean, economics is tough. And I think a lot of it also is the lack of our finding young, new collectors. Mm. And this is something that I think the association must do.
How would you suggest to go about doing such a Herculean task?
I just don't know. I think it has to be somebody writing in magazines, papers, interviews on television, letting them know that there's a world that they can be. They don't have to pay thousands of dollars to be a part of a world. They have to be detective, how to be a great detective and put together. Most young people have had collected something, either stamps or coins. I mean, I look at my granddaughter, Howard's older daughter, who has probably the largest collection in the world now of books on unicorns. Yeah. She's been doing it since she's 6 years old.
Good for her.
But you know what? Well, you have to get them started. And when she goes to school, there's huge amounts of kids in that school. We should let them come in and see what the books are and get them excited.
Maybe have a kids' day?
It doesn't even know. I think that they're not, I mean, they're college kids. They're certainly not going to ruin anything.
Well, no, probably not, but still.
I think that it would be a great idea to have them come in and take a look at the action within the book fair. I think it's a good, way to, how else can you get new young blood in there?
I've pondered that question a number of times. I don't know the answers.
I mean, I see some of the people coming over to us that have been collectors for years. They have almost everything. Yeah. And you know what? If they see something they don't, they'll say, oh, good. Really, rah, good. Yeah. That, I'll take that. That's okay. Yeah. I mean, I remember when they used to come and get really excited about finding something.
They could hold something and it would shake. Their hands would shake with the excitement of having found it.
I remember you even. God, I remember some of it at the Ambassador once when you were there once with. There was a whole crowd around you. I don't remember what it was.
Maybe I was giving away something for nothing.
I don't know, but I sure remember you and a crowd around you, and people were excited.
Yeah, it was a different era.
But you can't keep saying it's a different era.
Well, once the internet came in, it took a lot of the excitement and enthusiasm out of a lot of people.
But you have to put it back in another way.
Well, yeah, you're right. But
I mean, things come and go, but you have to find a way to bring things back.
If someone were to say to you, Barbara, what is the one piece of advice you would give to a young bookseller about the trade? What would you say to him or her?
About the trade, I don't know, but I'd say for a new young bookseller, learn everything about a book. I don't care what you collect or what you want, but know about it. And know about your paper, bibliographically, know what you're doing. That way you can impart into other people and a little more with knowledge, not just sitting there while, somebody looks over your books. Know about every little part of the book. And there's a lot of parts of a book that's what I think. The more you know, the better you are. And
what percentage of your business would you say comes from catalogs, and what percentage comes from book fairs or the internet? Do you have any kind of figures in mind as to how it goes for you?
Howard does book fair. He does 1, 2, 3, and then he does London.
Mm-hmm.
He does very well there too.
Yeah.
We do well. We do pretty well at a book fair because we don't have an open shop.
Do you still issue catalogs?
Our 12th catalog finally is coming out in a couple of months, or a month.
This is how long since the
40
last?
some odd, 6 years. But I have a problem with that because remember, when I learned to make my own paper, set my own type, I can't just put out a list. It just bothers me. Howard would love to do it.
But you won't let him yet?
Oh, I can't stop him from doing anything. He runs the business.
Okay.
But I just, again, when I say a book should be also beautiful,
yeah.
I mean, in your eyes, what's beautiful. And in my eyes, it's just not paper.
Yeah. Well, like you said, there's something between those two covers.
Yeah.
That's very important. Barbara, thank you so much. I enjoyed talking to you, and it was a great interview.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks for participating.